What is up, everybody? I'm No Lex Given, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is Storybook Brawl, but with a twist. We are throwing in a bonus rule to spice things up and make it a little bit more silly.
Why don't I share?
The rule set for this final lobby, you can only have one treasure at the end of the game. You have to, on your final fight, you can only have maximum one treasure. So this means some things. It means you can take an early game treasure and you're stuck with it. It could mean you greed and take a treasure late in the game. It does mean that you could potentially say King of or Hand of Midas. Sorry, you could Hand of Midas and that treasure disappears, right? That's okay, you can do that. You can take daggers in the early game. That disappears when you lose a fight, but what if you don't ever lose a fight after you take daggers?
This one's gonna get weird.
So this game was part of the Cover to Cover charity stream, and I was super excited when I heard the idea for this one, because this is actually something that I've been trying to do for a while. Before even Storybook Brawl 99 came out, I've always thought that Storybook Brawl was a game that had a lot of room for exploration and ways to add custom rule sets when you play with your friends and silly stuff like that. So if you think that this is fun, join my Discord, link in the video description, and there I'll be trying to organize other silly ideas and brainstorm them as well with the other members of my community. So into the game, into Hero Select, and this is one of the most fun things about coming up with these custom rule sets is thinking, how does that affect different heroes? You certainly don't want to be playing Peter Pants when you are unable to get Hat Ball, for instance, and a hero like Wonder Waddle that's all about finding a whole bunch of treasures. Also probably not super exciting. And Trophy Hunter probably wants some treasures. Pup also definitely wants some treasures. At least they both want those support treasures, Horn and Evil Eye. And Loki probably wants them too. But I felt like Loki was just a generic good hero that we could pick up to get things started, and we get a pretty good start to kick things off as well with a Shrink Ray that allows us to pick up a Cindy and a Baby Dragon, and normally it's really good to grab that Cinderella. I realize a few turns in that we're not really going to be super happy about picking up a tier 2 treasure. So, well, that part's a little bit silly, but we'll still run with the Cindy for now. There are still a number of tier 2 treasures specifically that you can grab because a few are disposable treasures. And the ones that we are going to look for that are disposable are going to be Locked Chest, Needle Nose Daggers, Rune Stones, Secret Stash, and I think that's it. But before we get to that, we're doing really well with a win that gives us the For Glory into a goat, and we can even triple it. And the plan here was just to skip the treasure, though I do think Bounty Board is pretty powerful. I do also kind of like Piggy Bank, especially when you're playing Loki, just because sometimes you get like a Holy Grail and you can't pick up the XP on your own. So Loki, Holy Grail, Piggy Bank, I think is just like a really cool combo, but I'll just skip the treasure, pick up an egg. This is my treasure. I get to pick up this additional 7/7 this turn, and I'm happy enough about that. Not going to be relevant, but we'll pick it up nonetheless, and I'm feeling pretty strong for this stage of the game. Definitely strong enough to take a Pigomorph. Though it is funny, I pick up a second Bossy, I'm about to pick up this Crafty, and I realize we're only going to ever have one treasure with this Crafty. So Crafty definitely not as strong as it normally is. However, I want to prioritize strength because I want to prioritize getting this extra gold from Prized Pig. I think that that is the biggest way that we can snowball our win in a treasureless world. So that's kind of the idea here. Just play a whole bunch of stats on the board. Some people might have 7 characters at this point, but they're not going to have 7 characters like us, especially after we take out a Queen of Hearts. A really good start there from Pan's Shadow, but Not good enough, as we are going to kill them, steal their Queen of Hearts, and grab ourselves some bonus gold. And I did mention runestones is one of those treasures that you can get early with a tier 2 treasure and have it do a little something. So I picked that up, and I'm not really particularly looking to make a tier 4 treasure, though I am noticing we have the opportunity to play a whole bunch of dwarves, so I'm definitely going to consider that. I also don't hate the Brave Princess just because it's 3.1, but realistically I probably shouldn't be trying to make Brave Princess work. I should just be picking up some dwarves and stuff like that. I think we'll save Brave Princess for a game where we're allowed to play more than one treasure. What I was getting at though is I would actually really like to use runestones on a tier 2 upgrade, so that way I can get another tier 3 treasure, not another, just a tier 3 treasure. Maybe that could be treasure map, which is the only digestible, I don't know, we need a consumable, that's the word I'm looking for. It's the only consumable tier 3 treasure. So there are still some other consumable treasures that we could consider later on in the game. Those are going to be, I guess each tier has one, except for tier 6 that I can think of off the top of my head. That's going to be Krampus's Sleigh, Hand of Midas, Nothing on 6, and then Holy Grail on tier 7. So those are all really powerful treasures. I might have left in a piece at the beginning where Yukmouth was talking about that, but you are allowed to make use of those treasures and play 2 treasures sometimes, as long as by the end of the game you are playing less treasures. But at this point, now that we have a treasure map, I'm going to want to make a tier 6 or tier 7 treasure, I think, especially with only the one treasure rule. But now that we have picked up this Turkish Delight, now I'm even a little bit more interested in potentially trying to make a tier 7 treasure and waiting till we hit level 5, because it's only going to be another turn or two. I feel like I can wait and just pick up some XP in the meantime, and I'll be able to float some gold with this golden chicken, and otherwise just trying to prepare myself the best for level 5. It could be interesting to try to set up an interesting scenario for Lancelot, though that's a little bit tough to do on Loki, especially without making triples of the Lady of the Lake, but I'm happy enough to play Lady of the Lake right now, supporting both of these doublies and then grabbing some extra gold from these luckies, kind of greeting it a little bit with the luckies, but playing some 8/18s on the doubly side of things, and hopefully can use that extra gold from the luckies to facilitate making a tier 7 treasure once I hit level 5. So that's kind of the idea. My opponent with a angry will like to pick one of those up soon for ourselves, but in the meantime we're just taking damage. But we do have the means to bring some econ into level 5 in a pretty nice way here with this Reckless Wager that we pick up as the Loki spell for the turn. So definitely want to make some nice use of that. There's only so much more that we can do to add to our board without making any triples, but then we finally find a Fanny, which is something that I was looking for a pretty good time in there. I think that Fanny can add a bunch of stats to the board. Now our doublies are quite large. I don't hate picking up Sporkos, but another Fanny I think is actually quite good as our final unit. It gives us a full bench, and we can use some of these things to sell off next turn in Econ. And then I'm even going to put in another Bossy and front row a Bossy, just because it'll get some additional stats on those first 2 doublies. And I think this is a pretty solid board here with all of those things considered. Doublies are going to take damage first before Bossy dies, which means that we did actually make use. You can see doubly at 1 health right now. We made really good use of all of those stats from Bossy. So I was happy how this one played out. We grabbed a tie, which wasn't really good with the Reckless Wager, but what can you do? Do have to at least consider 3 big pigs because we want to make a triple of a tier 5 character, but I'm just going to focus on Tweedle, Angry, and 9 Sea Terror. I think that 3 things is more than enough to look for. Definitely happy enough to pick up a 9 Sea Terror here, but then, yeah, I guess we'll have to sell Lucky or something off to pick that up, and then we're just going to wait for the rest of the turn. 9 Sea Terror might look a little bit silly if we like complete the Tweedles or the Angries, because then we won't want another tier 5 treasure, but there's potentially still some ways to make it work. We'll see what we are able to do here, if we can pull off anything sweet. 23 health on 5.0. I feel pretty good about this one. We had a very good start, and then we also were able to luckily Loki into some XP, so I think we're doing pretty well for ourselves here, all things considered. We are going to lose our Fanny, which means that Siren gets to steal our doubly. Just kind of silly. It's not going to be a huge impact here, but it does mean that we take 5 damage, and all of these little points of damage are definitely adding up, which is unfortunate. I do think that I want to pick up Angry here, just to not tunnel in on saying, no, there's only one character that I'm going to be happy about tripling right now. Angry just gives us another angle to explore and potentially grab a tier 7 treasure rather in that way. And that's going to be right now. We're going to sell off the rest of our bench to pick up this tier 7 treasure from 9 Sea Terror, and it's a little bit awkward because Magic Sword plus 100 is really, really cool with Tweedle. However, Holy Grail, I think, could win us the lobby. So I'm going to take Holy Grail, but I have to float it so that way I can use it on my 6.0 turn. And this means that we're not doing super great next turn, especially up against King Midas, which I talked about heroes that do well in certain circumstances. This is definitely a Midas mode. Midas not getting access to any treasures and not caring one bit. They will be able to grab a treasure off Hercules, and that'll be pretty nice for them, and then they just got all upside the whole game because nobody was playing with any treasures the whole time. They don't get to skip when they double up, but they just get to play a whole bunch of upgraded units, and that's really sweet. And speaking of upgraded units, we want to make ourselves a little bit stronger on our turn where we are just about to Holy Grail. A little bit unlucky. It's hard, I don't know which way to phrase it, because the XP winds up paying off. We get a Lordy here, but just a little bit awkward that we held onto the Holy Grail and then wound up getting XP from Loki anyways. So yeah, that happens, but I'll pick up the Fanny, and then we see the Krampus's Sleigh as one of the options on the Fanny, but it's awkward this turn because you're probably skipping on Krampus's Sleigh most of the time anyways, and we don't need an additional 5 gold next turn when we have 1,000 gold coming in. I sell off my 9 Sea Terror so that way we can have a fully clean shop, and the plan here is to probably try to force ourselves into trees and do some silly stuff from here, and I feel like we've got a decent chance at getting out of this because we are going to be, we're going to have a lot of options for treasure selection this turn over some of our opponents, and then we just find a whole bunch of Lordies immediately. And I probably could have done this whole turn a lot faster. I really wanted to think hard about my 1 treasure selection because I'm only getting 1, and from here, I think I'm just going to play Dwarves. I potentially should have still tried to pick up some trees so that I could have maybe pivoted into it, but now I really, really want to try to pick up an Echo Wood. I am going to wind up spending some gold this turn to pick up some other things. I triple the Tweedle. We just have to skip on that because we already have our treasure. We've locked onto owls. What is that called? The ivory owls. And now we will also pick up a triple for Tripoli, but I'd really like to find an Echo Wood before the turn's over. I'm going to skip on this Angry, put the Bossy back in, find another Lordy, and I'm not upset about playing Dwarves. I am a little bit upset about a full Holy Grail turn where we never found an Echo Wood, but we also never found an Ashwood Elm. So I'm kind of glad that I never wound up going into trees. Maybe I should have done that all a little bit quicker. I think the nerves might have gotten to me at least a little bit in there as well, but We're dwarves. I'm sticking to it. We're going to see how much we can scale this board and what we can do. And basically from here, I think I just want Lordies and Echo Woods. I think that that's all that I want. There's definitely some consideration for doubly, but when you have 2 upgraded Tweedles, that is just so good with Echo Wood. So I'd really love to do that, and I think we've got a few turns here. If we can find an Echo Wood, I think we could actually win this lobby. I'm not going to be able to find it this turn, but we'll see. We've got a few turns to go. Basically, just want to find this Echo Wood before we have to play up against King Midas again. And I think it's possible that we can take this thing. So I'm pretty excited. I think that my 1 treasure is not super exciting, but it is going to help us scale, and it is going to help the Echo Wood be pretty large when we get it, both because it gives a bunch of stats to everything at the start of the turn, but pumping up these Tweedles is definitely good, and it makes me feel like I'm barking up the right tree when I see that this Pan Shadow has also selected the same 1 single treasure as us. They have also gone with the Ivory Owls. Awkwardly, we're going to keep this Pan Shadow alive, so that's a little bit silly, and then we will cast a Shrink spell to round out the game here. We're going to be playing up against the Ghost while King Midas probably takes out that Pan Shadow for us, and then we just have to find an Echo Wood to round out this board, and that is the plan. Hoping that we could do it, but we're not going to be lucky enough this turn. At this point, I noticed that the coverage of the tournament was spectating me. So you're going to see in a second, I flash up my desktop background just to show off that I've got new Storybook Brawl videos on my channel every day. But this wasn't actually my first game on coverage. The first game of the stream was actually covered as well, and I'm gonna put that after that in this same video. Oh, I guess I don't show off my desktop background in this one. That must be in the next combat after we do some rolling in the next shop. But either way, wanted to bring that up, that there is another stipulation game. That one's a little bit different. It's not you can only play 1 treasure, it's that your final board has to contain a Puff Puff. So that one is really fun as well, but let's see how this one goes before we get there. We're rolling all the way down, looking for an Echo Wood. Amy's a dwarf, not the dwarf that we want. Lordy's a dwarf. Also not the dwarf that we want, but it's a dwarf that we can't say no to, so I have to pick up a Lordy here, of course. But I don't know if that'll be enough, so that part's a little bit awkward. If we could tie or something, that would be great, and then hopefully find an Echo Wood, and we'd have, what is it, 10 gold to roll down next turn. Yeah, here's my my desktop background there, just showing off for the stream. But yeah, the first game that we played was kind of cool as well. I think this one definitely makes you play a little bit more interesting. There's some different lines that you want to take. Like we were very heavily pursuing. I'm forgetting the word again. Consumable treasures. And this Midas has our number. It's tough to beat Midas in the end game, but they found a Medusa, and I don't even know if they really used their Black Prism. Maybe they just got that off a Pandora's box, but let me go back actually a second because I was trying to think of the word consumable. Basically, my opponent found an Echo Wood and we didn't. I feel like that's the long story short. They do also get a nice scam off with Medusa taking out one of our Tweedles. That's a considerable amount of our stats that could have traded with probably 2 more trees, to be honest. So a really good Medusa by my opponent, and then they finish us off with the ranged unit. So honestly, a really close battle. We could have potentially tied that, and all we needed was 1 Echo Wood, but unfortunately, despite a Holy Grail, we were unable to get there. Like I said, that's not it for me. I've got 1 more game that is mostly going to just be following along with the live commentary from the hosts of Cover to Cover, Ukemouth and Horse Thief.
We will be following in this first game No Luck's Given.
That's
so we're looking
me.
at No Luck's Given right now, who is currently playing the Fates.
I might pop up from time to time.
Okay. Seems interesting. How about we get a poly start? Okay, here's our poly start. How about we somehow get a golden puff puff from this poly? How about that as a strategy?
Yeah, what if I'm thinking it's got to be poly, right? Now
is really tempting.
Do we do the green poly play though?
I think Humpty is really good, but the polywoggle is just way too tempting.
And hope to not slay with it until we're level 3 so that it slays directly into a puff, and then we're just puff all the way through.
Well, I mean, clearly that's the goal here, but I don't think you hold on to it. It's unlikely to slay turn 1 anyway, and you can always True Love's Kiss it later, let's be honest.
Well, now that's a horseman with a poly. No Luck's Given has fed a poly to our headless horseman here, so that could be a quick puff for horseman.
And that's a definite reason to actually pick up the egg there.
Okay,
Just
now you have a poly, a baby root, and a wizard's familiar with 4 glory. Well, I don't think you're winning this fight, so 4 glory not looking super spectacular, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think a win here is fairly optimistic. I tend to agree and like this roll. We kind of needed something other than what was in the shop. A bunch of 1 attackers, probably not going to get the job done. So I think kind of regardless of what your strategy is to end with that puff on your board, you know that you're playing with a bunch of people who know this game real well.
Yeah, I'm basically just ignoring that, and
there's not really going to be any kind
to
of
see
break.
The Madmen, but unfortunately,
immediately
we're not
up against an
slay
egg for glory. Right now, this poly is hitting a brick wall.
So I really want to continue to watch No Lux, but the frame rate seems a little bit low. Maybe that's something we should keep an eye on.
Okay.
For the viewer's sake.
Yeah.
But as we see right now, a tiny, okay, sure, the poly's positioned with some stats on them, but not necessarily trying to get them to slay this turn. Seems like a good setup for me. And ideally, I'm still hoping for the golden poly next turn into a puff puff.
That looks like the dream right here. Unfortunately, I mean, we kind of got it. We need the attack on both of these polys, so we kind of have to support them and give them each then in turn a chance to slay. One of them's
we don't want to take
too
much damage.
Do you remember if the original one's on the left or the right?
I don't actually know, and that can matter. Because
this is
the original one
this
can
is the original
slay,
one.
and then that'll become your fated character.
I was purposefully
but if the one
not
that you bought
trying to
second
have my
is the one to
fated
slay.
That was
then
my
you
fated
will
one. That's
continue
me
to be offered
indicating to the
in
casters.
shop.
That's the
So
case.
here we go. The dream is still alive.
Apparently, everyone is playing a breakfast comp so far because I have seen so many eggs. This corrupted Heartwood's looking pretty solid here.
Heartwood looks pretty good with the peep. The Mim is great with the peep. Trying to figure out how to position here, it looks like.
Yeah, we definitely want to get as many sheep in front. Oh, and I like this trade. That's a cheeky maneuver.
I was not eyeballing this play, but I quite like it myself with Forbidden Fruit in the shop. And you didn't really want the tiny anyway, which doesn't really play well with the Mim, especially when you're going to position without supporting the poly. This, it's a pretty creative play. I like it a lot.
I was happy to hear that they liked this play.
As many sheep in front of this
Mim. The bigger
Mim
question is, do you put the
on the second half of this
polywoggle in the
combat as
front
possible,
or
but
the
just
back line?
having to put the black cat in front means there's no good
right
way
now,
we can control the flow here. So this is about the best positioning I think we could possibly muster up here. 6-5 ought to be enough to get the slay. Unfortunately, not living. That would have been a big power boost, but we do get extra sheep in front of Mim value here.
All right, can we do it? That's the question. Can we do it?
We got to win a 50-50 here. We do, and we win the fight.
And the poly is not a pop-up. It is a ranged character, however. That's quite strong.
Yeah, I think No Lux is probably going to be in pretty decent shape after
we'll be
turn
okay
3.1 upgraded Amy.
For a second, but
definitely
not excited
pretty
to see
strong
Amy.
this early. You probably don't need it because you're already so strong on board, but sure. Let's fire out an Earthquake because
I think
the gold
one
works
roll
out
would have
well
been
to do
better
so.
there. Casters are right.
And this looks like a pretty nice setup for 3.1, I have to say.
So I kind of got to wonder where we're going from here, and I sort of imagine since we picked up the Ogre Princess, we're hoping to get another Ogre Princess, maybe make a level 3 treasure out of that since some of those level 3 treasures are so strong. We've got quite a lot of power coming out of this Princess Peep on the back end of the fight. Casual, possible 6 attack.
Yeah, is this Heartwood Elder going to be something that No Lux continues to play into, or was this just a tempo play with a Peep and a Poly? that'll be something we'll have to keep an eye on as well.
Just a tempo play.
I feel
from
like
my
if we find a
perspective.
sarcophagus,
Wanted the
we're going
poly. I
to
said
be
this
double
in a recent
incentivized to
video
keep
too.
running this path.
Always try
but
to
if we
take a
don't,
treasure that will help the
probably
poly
just going to flex
slay.
with the game plan here. Oh, an earthquake directly into a donk, but summoning a prize pig.
That's a pretty big donkey, honestly. Double supported in this case. Unfortunately, doesn't have the board space to summon with some of the hits, so doesn't get max value. And it looks like the AME should be able to clean up pretty easily from here.
Yeah. Price pig's going to be handy for us for next turn. Just early 15-15 range. This is going to be really hard for any board to beat at this stage of the game.
Yeah, definitely. There's another poly.
What?
A Mim pair for glory when you're quite strong, and going into level 4, that could be a puff puff, Horse Thief. It could be.
Well, you know that poly.
That was my exact
That could be a puff
thought,
puff. We don't
picking
have
up
one
before
yet.
glory,
I
not gonna
kind of wanted that poly. Seems
Um,
like No Lux might have some different ideas.
Well, if those ideas include pairs, then No Lux is in luck because this is a shop full of them.
I see what you did there. I like it. I like this ogre. Why not? I don't know that I've seen the frog flip and then change borders like that. That was pretty cool.
Okay, so doesn't have a great way to get to the other Mim. Maybe just rolls past it here. It looks like considering selling the Black Cat, which is also pretty reasonable if you value the level 2 pair here.
Yeah. We have an interesting sequencing puzzle here too, because right now, if we're organizing things this way, we're valuing the Ogre Princess slays. Of course, if we move that Amy up just one slot, we're valuing winning. A little bit of back and forth, but I do like that the first Ogre Princess vacates the slot and leaves a little bit more room for sheep. And we are playing into Zippy, who would love to eat a few extra sheep.
Big earthquake there.
That was a
from
good
Zippy.
earthquake.
Now,
Yeah,
I
it
think
was a good
like we're
earthquake. I
reasonably
don't think it's
likely to
gonna
win
affect No
still
Luck's
just
ability
because
to
of this
win this
Amy,
fight
so
here.
maybe should have
We
prioritized
still
Ogre
have a
Princess,
huge
but
range. That's not
didn't
going to be
really
an
matter,
issue. And then
we
we
still
get to
get
see
the
what the
fourth
4
glory.
glory is going to be.
Not a puff.
No puff puff.
No, but there's an Ogre Princess, and I did notice that Keith made a comment in chat that he thinks Ogre Princess is ogre rated.
Ogre rate. Oh no. Oh no. Incredible, Keith.
However, this Ogre Princess, Golden, is going to give level 4 characters every time it slays. Could be a puff puff every single fight. Also, picking up treasure map is huge.
When I saw that Mim vacate slot 5 for just a moment, for just a fleeting moment, I wondered if we were debating this copycat with this monster book. It is forbidden tech. I don't know if we're supposed to, but it's there.
Well, you know what else works with copycat? Puff puff.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Princess Peep.
Well, no, actually looking at the Lightning Dragon apparently, and if there's a way to get this health spell on the Lightning Dragon, that's something you wouldn't hate doing, but the gold doesn't quite work out.
Yeah.
So now you have to decide how much do you want this Mim, and when you have treasure map, probably not is where I would have to go with this one.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think we're kind of at the mercy of the map for at least a turn or two. But as long as we... This Amy still makes us very strong. We picked up a couple of solid board upgrades. We'll start to fight some boards that have put a little bit more power down, so this may or may not actually guarantee us wins anymore. But that Amy saved us all the health that we had lost on level 2 through level 3.
Yeah. Okay, we see Grimy Patron on Snow Angel, who does not yet at least have a puff puff, at least not on the board. So Lightning Dragon does a great job here taking out a back row support.
Did you see
And
that
that's
Earthquake
gonna-
take out a 22-2 doubly?
Yeah, the reason the doubly had 2 health is because the Lightning Dragon took out the Fanny.
That was really good
quite a
combat
sequence of
RNG,
events there for
almost
No
too
Luck.
good because Ogre Princess never got to slay because
right.
we rolled so lucky
Well, something
on the
going on
Lightning
here.
Dragon.
The
and
interesting thing is
spells.
going to be what happens when we see that first puff. Will No Lux take it or roll right by it?
Yeah, for anybody
this
that
point,
may have just
roll it
tuned
right
in,
by it.
we're doing custom
Roll it
rules.
right
The
by it
rule
here.
on this lobby is your final board must have a puff puff. Doesn't matter what turn you buy it or how big it is, but you have to have one at some point in the game to be able to win the game. So just as Horse is alluding to, Do you buy the first one you see? Do you wait and hope you see one later? Well, right now you see a Monster Book pair and a River Wish pair. Both of those look pretty interesting.
Yeah, I see No Luck's debating if we want to shrink. I wonder if we're thinking about, do we just want one of the two? Do we want both? Are we looking, how fast do we need to go with this treasure map? I think if you're playing the shrink, you're indicating that you're definitely going to take both. And since you can open up an extra shop slot here, get to see a couple more things, it seems pretty effective.
It's going to be basically the same
pairs
cost, right? When you play the
as
shrink
possible.
spell, like the overall cost will be the same, and this does allow you to cycle something out of the shop. So very well played here by No Lux. Now you're going to have 2 level 4 pairs with the treasure map. That's pretty exciting. If you can get an early level 6, it could be huge.
Yeah, we're going to likely need a power spike here. Oh, first soul tack. Right when we get the River Wish behind the LD. That's going to be a bit of a problem. This board's got some stats on it over here.
That is a very healthy tree board for iTwitch on the Headless Horseman. That's a bit scary, not only for this turn, but also going forward.
Keith's everywhere must be pleased to see a solid horseman board.
Yeah, also unfortunate that they have a soul tack with this lightning dragon trying to get a slay with the River Wish. Just didn't work out here. So decent chance to hit a monster book here when you play short on a level 4 good character. Isn't able to get that and likely didn't really want the Chupa. So just a bit of a miss there, but worth a shot. There's the pop buffs.
2 at a time, rolling right by them.
decent.
The courage.
No.
The courage.
All right, I guess at 17 health, when you're going up against a 35 health Loki, you think let's survive until later, and we'll find the puff buffs sometime in the future.
Yeah, you really do have to get to the top 2 in order to play that puff and win with it. So this is all making a lot of sense. Right now, it just feels like we're on a precipice. We really, ideally, I think this turn wanted to see what that level 6 treasure might be, and instead we've got 3 level 4 pairs.
Yeah, well, you just need to connect one next turn in early level 6. It won't be as early maybe as No Lux had hoped, but it would still be fairly early if you can get one next turn.
Absolutely.
So I'm really
it's worth
hoping
the health
that
investment
ogre
if it ends up rebounding you in the end.
Can slay here while we're still on level 4, and I'm even going to move it up 1 just to hope that that can help. I never actually considered using the spell on the lightning dragon earlier on, but was definitely fearing having to play up against Loki and not having that additional health. Yeah, they're going to be doing some puff stuff here, but hopefully Ogre Princess can slay, give us another tier 4 character. I didn't actually mind losing on this one because I still felt a little bit healthy, and a tier 6 treasure, if we get a good one, could really turn some things around.
All right, it's a win-win scenario on Martin's board right now, and here we go. It's going to be a level 6 treasure.
What are we looking for?
I mean, Embiggening Stone would be great. Maybe that's even the reason that you buy the River Wish first, because if you want the Lightning Dragon as well, you'd like to have the stats on it. In this case, you have Mimic, which is not exciting. Phoenix Feather and a Wand of Weirding. These are underwhelming, to be honest.
It's always the weirdest case where Mimic is often one of the very best ones of the batch, but you just can't take it. You know that if you could get your hands on a second treasure, and we have a second treasure coming, so we could be mimicking, say, a Ring of Rage, but you can't really take the Trust Mimic, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Wand of Weirding is amazing. There's even a Wand of Weirding with
Mimic
the Mastery
Krampus
Ball and Shot.
could have
You're on
been
11
cool,
health
though.
and don't have a lot of gold to work with, and you want to buy that Lightning Dragon.
Yeah.
So just not the best options there. Goes with the Phoenix Feather, and gonna try to make a greedy play here, it looks like, by going
I
Krampus
figured
Blade. If you're
Phoenix
able to win this
Feather
fight,
was
could
the
be a really
tempo
big
play,
power spike.
so I
Hopefully
could
that's
make
the
a
case.
little bit of a
Yeah,
greedier play.
I like it. I like
with
it.
the Krampus
We
Slay.
took a tempo treasure. We took a little bit of a greed treasure.
There
We
you go.
probably wanted to take as much greed as we could, but at 11 health, you've run out of runway for greed.
That's really true.
So now we've got momentum.
Huge
playing an
blunder
Animal
here, by the
Summons
way.
board.
to
Luckily,
not
the Lightning
lead
Dragon
with
does
that
not hit the
Lightning
hippo on the
Dragon.
back. That would have been disaster.
Giving Lightning Dragon 2 attacks actually could have
Yeah,
won me this
that's
combat,
a
but
pretty healthy hippo in the back
pretty big
row,
blunder,
though, and only getting
because-
bigger as these things
oh, it
summon in the
actually
front row,
does,
so
but
you
then
are
it,
able to deal with the Vulture, luckily.
Oh, it doesn't get a
Well,
third
here comes
attack.
our
That's what
Phoenix
it was.
Feather
Okay.
Lightning Dragon. Oh,
Yeah,
and that
this
spear,
would
I'm
have
just now
been
noticing.
really
that
awesome
spear is a terror.
to steal or even double
yeah,
steal.
It's going to be too much with the health
Unlucky, though.
on the hippo in the back row. Even with this ranged, yeah, you just can't get through everything. Luckily, still alive. 4 health is still giving yourself a chance here. But with Krampus Slay, 4 health, not especially strong on board. Okay, thinking about the Mix-a-Wiz on the Amy here to get a 5 and maybe even a Mix-a-Wiz into Kiss type of play. Hasn't committed to that just yet.
That's
We've got
exactly
very
what I
little
feel
room
like
for
I have
work.
to
These
go
are
for
spots
here
where I
at
would
4 health.
debate picking up the Sea Terror typically, but here I feel like we need something that goes on board. Anything we purchase here, I feel like needs to power us up. Just being at 4, we gotta. But what really does it on level 5 right now? Robin Wood.
Yeah, this is it's a tough spot for sure. Maybe considering a Baba there, probably not. It does work with a couple of things on your board, but again, it's not an instant power spike like you might need just to make it one more turn.
Yeah, and sitting there in the back row with only 3 attack, Baba often just can't contribute anything if its ability is not its main contribution.
I don't know, Horse. I'm not feeling great about this. Not finding the Monster Book triple is not helping. The Mix-a-Wiz turn into Baby Bear. It's not the best outcome. Is there anything No Lux can do
It was a
here
huge
other than
downgrade
just
to
hope
grab
for the
that
best?
Baby Bear, probably
Yeah, I saw that
the
last
worst
second
level
decision
5
of
unit
do
I
we
could
sell
grab.
3 for that Siren? Because Siren's the sort of thing that might be able to help us out in a spot like this, but even with that.
You'll see
Unfortunately,
biggest
the Lightning Dragon has
differential
not gotten
in this
enough
fight
HP
is
yet
just
to
the
survive a
Lightning
hit.
Dragon
But
being insane.
fortunately,
Yeah.
we're looking all right against this Waddle board.
Yeah, the Shrivel at the start of the turn hitting the Queen of Hearts was pretty big. That is an Ive Ares comp. They also have Treasure Map, which is going to be the selection. A second Treasure Map, thanks to Krampus Slay. You do have the pair of Monster Books. All right, there's a chance that this could really flip around into a strong board quickly. But we need to find those pieces.
I thought
I'm feeling
playing 2
quite
treasure
pleased
maps
that
in the
we
same
didn't
game
sell
was just
3
too sweet to
for
pass
that
up.
second
I don't
Siren.
think I've ever
On
done
the
that
other hand, I
before.
guess if we
So it
had
seems
a
sweet.
pair of Sirens here, maybe we would have been a little bit closer to this map. But on the other hand,
there we go.
looks like we didn't
Okay.
need them. All right. 2 treasure maps. Well, Roundtable World
Kinda
Tree
wish I
Magic
still had that
Sword plus
Baby
100.
Bear right about now
Oh,
with this
tough.
magic sword.
This is tough. World Tree is great, but can you afford to take it when you're on 4 health and it doesn't really benefit you this turn?
Yeah. Roundtable's doing something. Guaranteed. We've got
Yeah.
some stat differentials here. Not a lot, not as much as it can do when we get Ashwoods and things going, but
And it is biggest on the Lightning Dragon, which is also the Phoenix Feather target. I think you have to go round table. It's a bit awkward considering you've had double treasure map. To say that you're in a bit of an awkward spot is interesting. Maybe you can now turn this into a tree board next turn if you can just.
So that's the hope, try to play trees. I'm trying to see if there's a funky way to make better use of Robinwood this turn, since it's going to give plus 14 and then also round that out on the health. So definitely worth trying to at least see if there's a way to get that on Monster Book.
fortunately for us, Good Boy's got a little bit too much HP.
Yeah, it not dying until very, very late in the fight is quite a big deal here, and that's going to mean that No Lux is going to be able to win this one. Well done. GG to Grimy Patron, who did have a Puff Puff on board, by the way.
GG indeed. Curious now how many. Looks like we're in the top 5. Top 5.
Okay, the last time we saw this Loki board, it was Copycat Puff Puff. That doesn't mean it will still be a version of that, but I'm really hopeful that it is.
Yeah, last time we saw Loki was at 35, so the Copy Puff has cost some health. However, you are in contention to win having the Puff Puff on the board, but you do have to get there. So now we find another Puff Puff. Are we getting late enough that we have to consider this thing?
Well, yeah, it's tough, right? Because you might not see another one after this. Also, are we trying to build more into Round Table? Is there any consideration for Pumpkin, which is obviously not a perfect fit, but you do have a few Eagles on the board and not a lot of gold to work with, really. opts not to go for the pumpkin. And now with 3 gold left, your options are pretty limited here. But No Luck's playing it safe and taking the puff this turn.
Felt like I had to. Just
we did
take
power
it
up
eventually.
a fair amount.
Do
in the
my
last
fair
handful
share of
turns, so
playing
it's looking pretty good.
the
Debating if we want to
stipulation.
keep giving Slay to the Amy, yes or no. Interesting position. Another pumpkin.
Yeah.
Still not a perfect fit, though.
No, it's really not. Now, I don't mind skipping the pumpkin before. It's just... I think we floated a couple of gold there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going to matter.
We
Just
do
ran
still have
out of
Copy
time
Puff.
trying to figure out everything I
Yep.
needed to do. If I had the extra gold,
However,
I
this
could
lightning
have
dragon taking out a Lady
picked
of the
up
Lake and then
Hercules there
taking
if I
out the
didn't buy the
buff, that
so
doesn't
that
leave a
felt
lot
kind of
left on
bad.
Martin's board.
I don't even know if
So
this is
this round
great,
table,
but
even though it wasn't
I
a
lock
perfect
onto the
fit,
shop anyways.
has really been pretty decent, especially on this lightning dragon, as we had talked about.
That very last hit kept Martin alive. Taking out an upgraded character on the very last hit of the combat, surviving on 2. Incredible. And now we're top 4.
Okay. Now, what does this build turn into? You pick up a hurt this turn. Not sure if there are enough turns left in this game to complete. Maybe if you get a couple of hits here. Not really getting a lot of value out of the round table. This has been a very uncomfortable game, yet fun to watch.
Totally agree. It feels to me like we want to find the Ashwood, but now even the Ashwood, it's only buffing itself and the Robinwood, right? And even it doesn't really buff itself because it starts off at 0-15 and gives itself 15 attacks, so it's barely even... It's going to be very challenging to play.
The casters did talk about this some, but this is still a high-level lobby with some really good players. So I think that is kind of what's pushed me into this comp. And since my tier 6 treasure first missed, I've basically just been playing for tempo the whole time. And I mean, it wasn't really a total miss. It's a relevant treasure, but it didn't give me any sort of build direction. So just playing tempo, trying to get as far as I can, hoping that if other players are doing the same thing, maybe I can out-tempo or scam a win somehow in here.
Is this Piper the Trees board? I don't recall.
Yeah, it's 17 health. We know they're going to be very strong. This is Momentum playing Piper, and this is now
yet again.
Is this a summons board? It's mostly just a good boy board, really, but with the hippo in the back.
Yeah, it is. And Momentum playing perfectly around the Lightning Dragon. We got the hippo that the Lightning Dragon can't take out, unprotected by Soul Tack. Everything that the hippo could have taken out, totally protected by Soul Tack.
Our whole comp is
backline
this Lightning Dragon, the round
totally
table pumping up the Lightning Dragon, the Phoenix Feather pumping up the Lightning
Soul Tack
Dragon.
doing everything that Momentum hoped it would do by playing it in this spot. And that's a lot of stats still on the back row. No Luck's not going to be able to deal with that amount of stats. So GG to No Luck's, and we'll hop over and spectate Momentum.
Yeah, GG No Luck's. All right.
I
over to
think
Momentum.
I'm going to end this video here. You can check out the full live stream on twitch.tv/Storybook Brawl. They were streaming on the official channel. And again, this is just a really cool thing. And this is something that I am definitely interested in doing more of. And if you want to participate, you can either go on the Cover to Cover Discord channel, or you can check out my Discord channel, link in the video description, where I have been trying to organize some games like this. We have been sharing a bunch of ideas in my Discord server, and I think this will help us brainstorm some other ideas as well. So if you like seeing some more silly-oriented Storybook Brawl content, let me know down below, and feel free to join in if you want to have some fun with us. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Luck's Given. Peace.